Dobro večer vsem, hvala, da ste prišli. Jaz sem Gnada Pretner z Gibanja za pravice Palestincev in danes smo, se bo Gaja malo več povedala, jaz bom pa rekla, da bi rajši naredila en uvod, zakaj smo tukaj. Torej, to je že drugo leto, ki v sodelovanju z 𝗍𝗤𝘅 𝘊𝘢𝘍𝘢 Vodnikovo domačijo organiziramo recimo skoraj v bistvu cel teden dogodkov, ki so posvečeni palestinskemu glasu. Torej, govorijo samo in pretežno Palestinci. Zato imamo tudi 3 goste iz Palestine, od katerega danes boste spoznali Mohammada Sabaanehja. Razlog, zakaj smo se odločili za to, da recimo vsako leto imamo v tednu, ko se obeležuje nakbo, da imamo te dogodke, ki še vedno govorijo o Palestini, zaradi tega, ker nakba ni nikoli končala. Nakba je nekaj, ki se nadaljuje že 77 let in recimo, da od oktobra leta 1923 smo bi rekla, v eni fazi, ki bi nekateri označujejo kot končni fazi in se pravi v fazi genocida. Genocid se izvaja, Izrael izvaja genocid v Gazi že od oktobra 1923 in če pomislite, da ta genocid ga vsi vidimo dnevno na naših raznih omrežjih, in ne glede na to, kar so odločila sodišča mednarodna, še vedno se dogaja, pomeni, da tisti, ki so odgovorni za to, da bi to ustavili, ne delajo to, kar bi mogli. In zato jaz pozivam vsak večer, ko imamo dogodke, tudi civilno družbo. Civilna družba je seveda ni odgovorna za naše odločevalce, ampak jih pa lahko pa izvaja pritisk, močen pritisk nad njim zaradi tega, da bi ukrepali. Ne govorim samo za Slovenijo, logično, ki se veliko ponaša, kot da je na pravi strani zgodovine, ampak konkretno še ni naredila ničesar. Govorim za cel zapadni svet. In to pozivam vsakrat, ko imamo dogodke, kot nekako uvod, da razumete, zakaj to delamo in zakaj smo tukaj in zakaj vas pozivamo, da tudi vi se pridružite. Hvala lepa. Zdaj pa predam besedo Gaji.
Hvala, Nada. Dober večer tudi v imenu Zavoda 𝗍𝗪 𝘊𝘍𝑢𝘊 Vodnikove domačije, ki skupaj z Gibanjem za pravice Palestincev in številnimi drugimi partnerji organiziramo to serijo dogodkov. Kot je že izpostavila Nada, v ospredje postavljamo palestinske glasove in izredno hvaležni smo in dragoceno se nam zdi in zelo pomembno v tem trenutku, da tukaj dejansko gostimo 3 goste iz Palestine, med njimi je Mohamed, poleg njega pa še Mahmud Muna, založnik in urednik, lastnik knjigarne 𝘗𝘰🭍🐴 bookshop v Jeruzalemu, zelo pomembnega kulturnega stičišča. On bo z nami jutri na Vodnikovi domačiji, dopoldne pa na 𝘗𝘸𝑑𝑣, kjer bo v pogovoru s 𝘗𝑰 𝘗𝑍𝑒 in je prav tako tukaj prisotna z nami in 𝗓𝗨𝒻 govoril o različnih temah s poudarkom na aspektu vere, pa tudi seveda založništva. Zvečer pa z Nado Pretner na Vodnikovi domačiji. Poleg Mahmuda je v Sloveniji tudi 𝘗𝘂 𝘗𝘗, palestinski novinar in kmetovalec. Včeraj smo ga gostili na Vodnikovi domačiji, danes je predaval na Filozofski fakulteti. Skratka, res smo veseli, da so z nami tu. Dogodki potekajo še vse do petka, tako da vas res lepo vabim, da si ogledate, kaj še sledi in da se nam pridružite še kje. Rada bi se vam zahvalila, da ste prišli in seveda vama za ta večer, ki sledi. Thank you, Mahmud, and welcome.
Hi, Mohammed. It's again a pleasure to start this conversation with you. Mi bomo prešli kar v angleščino. And it's not the same conversation we're going to have. We first met last year when Mohammed was presenting his book, 30 Seconds from Gaza, in Italian translation. It's the latest book that he has prepared as a response to what Nada mentioned, the genocide in Gaza, looking at it from West Bank. At that time we talked, then we ordered the book, his graphic novel, Power Born of Dreams, that talks about Mohammed's experience in prison. And his first book, this one was the second one, is Black and White, the political illustrations. His books have received awards, and Mohammad was also the recipient of Sweden's EWK 2024 award, which is one of the most prestigious as far as I was able to read and understand. He was also exhibiting and a guest of the Lake Festival, Lake District Festival in London. And actually the story there is even more fascinating because Mohammad is not only an illustrator and political commentator, but also a lecturer at the Arab-American University in Ramallah. He's from Jenin, actually born outside, but from Jenin, as he explained to me when we talked in Trieste last year. I will at one point pose a question, I promise, and let you speak. I first have to also apologize. So Mohammad had this morning a presentation at the Academy of Fine Arts and Design here in Ljubljana, and he prepared also diligently and with great detail a presentation. We decided to have now more a talk about his work, but also perhaps more broadly about his understanding and how to survive in the occupation and settler colonialism that has set up an apartheid system in Palestine and is enacted by the Israeli state. So the selection and the order of the pictures, the images that you will see, is somehow mine. I totally dishonored the authorship of the PowerPoint presentation and made somehow the collection so that perhaps it also presents a visual representation of what we will also be talking about. Because I think his work is exceptional and extremely important also for us to understand the reality there. And for me, I think it was really amazing to read in the book Power Born of Dreams how you explained that Palestine is actually a prison and that your experience in prison is actually an experience that is lived also outside of prison for Palestinians living in West Bank, living in Gaza, Palestinians who are refugees in other countries, who are forced in not being in Palestine. And this was a moment when also Francesca Albanese presented this idea of prison and incarceration policies. And that sounded very, legalistic, in a different way, researched, thought out. But basically, for me, it became obvious what is repeatedly being proved again and again, that you Palestinians best understand your situation and can also very well describe it. And I'm wondering, so how has your understanding of Palestine been formed? What were the stories? What were the narratives that somehow you encountered from early age on? And how did prison fit into all of this? Has it made anything different? Has it changed you? Probably in many ways, but yes, in what ways?
First, I want to thank you for having me here. And it's an honor for me to be here in Slovenia and in this city. I don't agree with you that because I am Palestinian, I should understand the situation in Palestine more than the people who they are outside Palestine. Especially, for me, I got most of my knowledge about settler colonialism from Patrick Wolf and all of these scholars who has written this theoretical approach about Palestine to get deeper understand for what's happening there. Because I work at university, I've been working in this university for years now. I always am trying to find this academic framework to understand our situation in Palestine. When I have done this book maybe 5 years ago, talking about the prisons, it wasn't obviously in the West Bank, for example. Right now, people in West Bank, they are talking about all of these prisons in the West Bank, because now each city in the West Bank became a prison, each village in the West Bank became prison, and the people at that time 5 years ago, they did not notice that. But I was looking for, by the academic framework, the settler colonialism, and how exactly the process of the colonialism, and if we reflect that on the indigenous in United States, for example, or in another country, we will find that the idea of the colonizer that to convert all of these cities, the Palestinian cities or the indigenous city, into the prisons. People used to mention that Gaza, it's the biggest open air prison, without mentioning West Bank, for example, without mentioning all of that, these villages and camps and cities in the West Bank. But if you look over the map of the West Bank and try to find exactly how we cross from Jenin to Ramallah, for example, it's just 150 kilometers. Sometimes we spend 4 hours or 6 hours to cross all of these bypass route and to cross through the Israeli checkpoint and gates and all of these fictions that the Israeli settler colonialism created. That's why I wanted to compare between our life inside these cities in the West Bank and in Gaza in this book with the real prison, because it is the same. It's the same, and by last year, not last year, the year before, when I was in Italy to represent my Italian version for my second book, the last event was was on the 7th of October. I finished my event, and second day we had, you know, the 7th of October happened, and the Israeli closed the West Bank. And my publisher, my Italian publisher at that time, she told me that you cannot go back to Palestine. Why you are not staying here in Italy? And you can imagine that this prisoner who is outside the prison and could not travel back to his prison. It was very hard for me, but it is our destiny as a Palestinian to fight against this kind of formula that the Israeli and settler colonialism want to create. We are prisoner, but we are free. This is a big prison, but at the same time, this is our homeland. That's why we are resist. That's why we are doing this kind of art. That's why we still and keep doing what we are doing. No one can accept that his homeland can be converted into the prison, or like Gaza, for example, right now. It's a big cemetery, not a prison right now, for the Palestinian people in Gaza. But at the same time, yeah, sometimes we feel that we are weak. We want to go outside. We want to breathe. We want this opportunity to see the world. But it's not easy for us. I do agree that most of the Palestinians, even the Palestinians who they are in the diaspora, also sometimes they want to go back to their prison. They want to go back to their homeland, and they could not. That's how they feel, that they are prisoners even when they are in Europe or in the United States or wherever they are. You asked me about the prison, the real prison, and if the prison changed anything inside Mohammad Sabaaneh. Actually, it did not. I don't need to give the Israeli prison any credit. This hard place and dark place, it's not a place that you can change us as a Palestinian. We try to resist against this place, and that's how all of the Palestinian prisoners, they are creating the hope inside the prison to fight and to resist this prison. The prison itself, it did not change anything inside me and inside all of the Palestinian prisoners. And that's why I do believe that as a Palestinian, we have, or that's why always I draw about the prison and the prisoners. And I had my fourth book also, or comics or graphic novel. It will be published next year about my brother's journey inside the prison after the 7th of October. And you can compare between always the same, comparing between the prison and Gaza, and how the people, they are starving now in Gaza, and still the Palestinian prisoners, they are starving inside the Israeli prison without food, and facing the Israeli torturing in Gaza, and facing the Israeli atrocity inside the Israeli inside these prisons. That's why this comparison between the life inside the prison or outside the prison, between the Palestinian cities, between all of these cities, it's rely on this academic framework, trying to analyze exactly how the Israeli, they are constructing their system to dehumanize or to kill the Palestinian identity and entity on that land.
Now, I'll go back. I think this picture, when you mentioned that also sometimes the Israeli army, when you go back to West Bank, they confiscate your art. Now, settler colonialism, if I understand correctly, is making sure that we take the land, we take the natural resources, and we get rid of the people who have lived there forever and whose land this is. How does this translate into art, or how do you understand it? We know that Israelis are very comfortable at claiming that Palestinian or Arabic food is their food. They take over or say this is ours. They take even the trees and plant them in the cities that are younger than the trees, saying this is our history. So have you encountered, or how do you see, are they also in any way trying to erase you from your art, or take your art and make it their own? How do they approach your work?
First, the settler colonialism, the difference between the colonialism and settler colonialism, that colonialism, the traditional colonialism, they occupy the land to get their natural resources, to exploit the people there, the colonized people, by working, by slaving them, by try to invest that area for their economy, for their industry, and that's what's happened in many countries. In settler colonialism, the definition that these settlers or these immigrants who they came usually from Europe to that area, that's what's happened in Australia, that's what's happened in New Zealand, that's what's happened in the United States, and occupied that area. And the process of this kind of occupation or this kind of colonialism, first they ignore that the indigenous there, they have heritage, or they have culture, or they have civilization there. They are uncivilized people, and that was mentioned explicitly on that last genocide, when the Israeli leader said that this is the war of the civilized people. And they pretend that these tribes or primitives people, they are human animals. They are not really population. They don't have relation with land. They depend on the hunt, not in cultivation, or they have no relation with land. And at the same time, when the Israeli moved to, or the Zionist movement moved to Palestine, they found that the Palestinian people, they are people, they have culture, they have villages, cities. We hadn't university, but we have newspapers, cinema, all of this kind of facility. We have civilization in that area. They wanted to pretend that these Palestinian people, or what they call it, people without land, for land without people. Unfortunately, we were there. We have our culture. We have even the Palestinian political cartoon. It was existed before what they call it, the establishment of the State of Israel. The Palestinian journalist. We have a newspaper called Palestine and 𝗬𝗢𝗕𝗢, 2 newspapers. And we have all of this cultural movement and all of these things. The Israeli want to justify their act against these indigenous by dehumanize them, that they are primitive, they have no relation, they have no culture, they had no education there. And that's how exactly they can justify their atrocity against the indigenous people in Palestine. And that's exactly what's happened with the indigenous in the United States, for example. That's what's happened with these people in New Zealand, in Australia, and all of these areas. The Israeli discourse always to dehumanize the Palestinian people, and explicitly was mentioned with the beginning of this war. We are fighting against human animal. That's what they have mentioned. By art, by culture, by what exactly we are do, we dismantle the Israeli discourse. You cannot say that this art came from human animal. And that's why exactly we are doing that. It's not just about the political art. And even if you do the art like this illustration that we have seen here in Slovenia without any relation with the political issues, you are rehumanize the Palestinian people. You are dismantle their propaganda and colonizer discourse. And that's why exactly always I'm trying to encourage the Palestinian people to do art. It's not just about the politics. It's not just about the Palestinian prisoners or the genocide or political cartoon, even any kind of art. It is resistance against the Israeli propaganda.
And how important is it, I think, with this work, you mentioned also how the story of Palestine relates to the world, and you've mentioned now the historical relations. You've had, your work and studies have brought you in contact with many other artists and thinkers, and it seems you are very comfortable and you understand very well how important it is to use this universality of art to communicate with the world. How does that happen? Or how do you see, how can art do that? With language, it seems, it's always complicated. Does art have, what does art have? How do you do this?
We cannot pretend that we as a Palestinians that we are the only people who they are facing atrocity. We cannot ignore that many peoples around the world, they face the racism, atrocity, and all of this kind of things. This kind of intersectionality between the Palestinian issues and the rest of the issues around the world, it's strength us as a Palestinian. When we do this intersectionality between us as a Palestinian people with the black people in the United States, with the natives in the United States, with some people in South Africa, making this kind of historical intersection between our issues and the rest of the issues around the world, it is very important. It's helped all of these people to understand exactly what's going on here what's going on there in Palestine. It's make it easy for them, and it makes it easy for us to make this alliance between us as a Palestinian who they are facing this atrocity with the rest of the people who they are suffering around the world, because not just of occupation, because of racism, because of corruption, because of all of these kind of problems around the world. And this is, it is not just something I want to do. I think it is important strategy for us as a Palestinian people to globalize our cause as a Palestinian, and to make it easier for all of these groups around the world to be pro-Palestinian people. It is strategy. It is marketing strategy. It's not political strategy, but it is how we can promote our issues for all of these peoples around the world. It was easy, for example, for the black people to communicate with them when George Floyd was killed in the United States, and compare between the American police with the Israeli army, because some of the American police, they got some training in Israel, and it was very easy for us to communicate with them by art. And one of my cartoon about that was published around the world, just because I compare between the black in the United States and the Palestinian people on their land. I think it's important, and it is more human also, because we are not the only people who they are suffering. I should stand with these people in the United States. I should stand with these people who they are facing atrocity or racism or corruption or dictatorship around the world. And it is, I think it is a very important strategy. PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, used to use this strategy during Yasser Arafat period, but right now we are just following the United States.
Yeah, and one picture that, I mean, the next one, it's from the book that we have here, and hopefully we also soon get it in Slovenian translation, Power Born of Dreams. It's from prison, the images, and the main character also the bird that tells the stories or communicates with you. And I'm wondering, I mean, being in prison and understanding the whole Palestine as prison, or the reality Palestinians are living as imprisonment, who did you have, or in who did you put trust when you were in prison? Who was close to you? Who gave you hope when you are locked up somewhere?
It's a hard question. The prison is not just one stage. And when you start this journey, it's not just the same. It's the interrogation period of time is different than the prison. The last time, or the last month or 2 months or 3 months in the prison, it's different than the first period of time. The prisoners, they are not the same. During the interrogation, you cannot trust anyone. And during the interrogation that you are in prison, you don't know these people who they are around you. Israel used to use what they call it 𝗪𝗪, or collaborators inside the prison. He will look like you, a prisoner who came to your cell and start talk with you why you are here, and trying to track or to get some information from you. Some of these people, unfortunately, they are Palestinian, and some of them they are Israeli, and some of them they are Arab from 1948. And cannot ignore that we have collaborators in Palestine as a Palestinian. And some of the system of this kind of interrogation make you cannot trust anyone inside the prison. But when you move from from the interrogation session to the prison, that's how you move to with Palestinian prisoners. It's the same. Sometimes you have some collaborator inside the prison, but not the majority. You can find 1 or 2 in the prison. But who gave me hope, actually, because I used to work on these issues as a political cartoonist. My brothers has spent more than 11 years inside the prison with a different period of time. Sometimes he go there for 1 year, 2 years, and then be released, and go back for 2 years and be released. And I know a lot of information about the prison. And actually, that's information that I got before my journey inside the prison, make me stronger and understand exactly what's going on around me. And it's helped me to cope with this situation, or I cannot call it cope with the situation, but deal with this kind of situation. And I was thinking also, because I heard a lot about the art therapy and how you can think about art as a tool of resistance. That's why I was thinking, okay, I'm here not as a prisoner, I'm here as a cartoonist. I came to this prison to report for the people around the world how they can, or how exactly the Palestinian life inside the prison. That's how I make my mindset thinking that I'm here as a journalist or as a cartoonist, not as a prisoner.
And today in the morning you said this is not finished. So the imprisonment is not finished. And I decided to use also one of the photos that you showed in the morning of your brother, and then we'll also come to more. So the prisons, they touched your family very closely, and they still do, and they probably touch every Palestinian family very closely or directly. You mentioned also your students who, for example, are taken to prison and then come back. And what do you feel? So you already mentioned that it makes you stronger, that you feel that you can cope with it, that it's something that you're raised somehow with or in. But still, does Israel still have ways how it breaks people? Because we know it's one of the few countries, or the only one, that takes children in front of military courts. It imprisons children and keeps them in prison for 10 or more years, children being young, especially boys, but just young children below 18. And there is no outrage in the world. We see this happening daily. Why do they still do it? And what does the resistance mean?
First, I want to explain that these photos for the same guy, my brother, after and before the prison. If you compare between them, you can recognize exactly how much he has lost it from his weight because of the lack of the food inside the prison after the 7th of October. And it's important to be mentioned that more than 20 Palestinian prisoners, they were killed. The prisoners from the West Bank, from Gaza, we don't know how many Palestinian prisoners from Gaza who they were killed inside the Israeli prison, but at least 20 Palestinian prisoners who they've been killed from the West Bank inside the Israeli prisons because of the torturing them, because there is no medical treatment also inside the prison after the 7th of October. Why they are doing that? Why they are keep doing that inside the prison? This is I don't know exactly. Yes, the Israeli prison has not defeated us as a Palestinian, and always we are fighting against this situation. I'm not sure why they are keep doing that against us as a Palestinian, and keep use it as a strategy, but I don't know. It's hard to. I think that this question should be answered by the Israeli, because during the interrogation I told the interrogator that why you are putting us inside the prison? We will go outside and keep doing what we are doing. We will not surrender, and that's what's going on right now with all the Palestinian people, not just me as Mohammad Sabaaneh, my brother, my nephew my cousin who has spent 20 years inside the prison, and now he is in Egypt. For this photo that you have mentioned, these are two nephews, one the son of my sister, and another one the son of my son, Watan, and Ahmad. Ahmad was arrested by the Israeli just 3 months ago in administrative detention. and now he is in the prison. 𝗏😅 was detained by the Palestinian Authority without going to court and without file, actually. And it is very important to be mentioned that 𝗏😅 was born while his father was in the prison, and now he is in the Palestinian prison, and his name is 𝗏😅. It's mean homeland, and I named him because his father was in the prison. Yes, still we are suffering, and still we are facing the same atrocity, and harder by Palestinian Authority and by all of these political fiction. It's not just about Israel. It's not just one layer of occupation. We have more than one layers in Palestine right now.
Now, one of the illustrations is also this, and what you just mentioned. So you have also worked for a newspaper that was close to Palestinian Authority, but you got in trouble. But you also got in trouble with Hamas. So what's it like to do political illustration or political illustrated commentary in Palestine? And where do you find space to create in freedom?
Actually, our fight, it is not just against the Israeli. It's against the Israeli. It's against the lack of freedom of speech, even in West Bank and Gaza. We cannot just ignore. I cannot ignore also this political fiction in Gaza. They don't give freedom of speech for the people in Gaza, and it's the same in the West Bank. But yes, we don't have this kind of luxury that we have freedom of speech in Palestine. We are fighting against not just the Israeli occupation. We are fighting against all of this ignorance, against this political fiction, against even the Palestinian Authority. I had many troubles with them. But at the same time, this is our mission. This is our mission that we should keep. And when you are talking about Palestine, it's important to be mentioned that you don't have freedom of speech, even in all of these countries who they are pretending that they have freedom of speech. Steve Bell was fired from The Guardian last year because he criticized Israel. Antonio Antunes from Portuguese, he was fired from New York Times because he criticized Israel. Even one of these French cartoonists, I forget his name. He is working with the Le Monde. In one of his cartoons, he criticized Israel, and the problem. Even he established Cartooning for Peace as an organization to make collaboration between the Palestinian cartoonists and Israeli cartoonists. I forget his name, that cartoonist, but he was also criticized and attacked by the pro-Israeli organization in France just because he criticized Israel. When you want to talk about Palestine, you should know that you will be attacked by all of these pro-Israeli organization, political fictions here in Europe and around the world. The lack of freedom of speech when it's related to Palestine, it's everywhere. And I'm not saying that because I want people to consider as a victim. And but our fight is not just in Palestine. Our fight is around the world, and it is for all of these people who they are pretending that they have freedom of speech. It's not the freedom of speech. It's not just when you are criticizing Prophet Muhammad and Jesus and all these prophets and the holy figures. And at the same time, you can't criticize one Israeli soldier in France. It's a joke. And that should be mentioned. The lack of freedom of speech is not something we are facing as a Palestinian, and even for all of these people who they are supporting Palestine around the world.
And yet, you have 3 books published, 4th one on the way, and determined to keep going. Saying, so how did you do it? I mean, how, what obstacles did you face? How difficult is it to, keep your ideas on the paper, not to change the images? I mean, do you face this kind of ideas from editors? How did this happen?
I've lost many jobs because I don't change anything. Usually, my deal with my publisher, my deal with my newspaper, that I do whatever I need to do. And if you need to publish it, publish it. If you don't need, leave it. But I don't change anything. How I keep going, producing art and producing books and all of these things, to be honest with you, I have this privilege to travel around the world, to meet new people. Just now we have seen great exhibition here in Slovenia. I had this chance to see new people while I'm traveling. A new exhibition, galleries, museums, to own new book, and I just have a new magazine for the illustration and comics here in Slovenia, another one. All of these resources, what the real resource for me as Mohammad Sabaaneh to keep going and to keep producing art, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do with my student also. When I find anything, the resources, I take it also for my student. When I started my career, actually, it was 20 years ago. We had just one book for political cartoon in 𝗬𝗢𝗕𝗢𝗏 University for 𝗬𝗏𝗢𝗕. At that time, we did not have internet. We did not have library, bookstore, nothing to improve your visual language. Right now, we have all of these resources. The internet, online library, all of these things. I have this chance when I travel around the world for festival or to meet people, and I'm trying always to take all of these resources for my student also, to make it easy for them to improve their art.
Now, you also have tomorrow an opening of exhibition of your works in Maribor, which we are super happy and proud of, but you have helped to put up exhibitions in Ramallah, and you have just also helped to publish a work by an artist from Gaza, and the work is titled Saba and the Tent. Can you tell us a little bit about this work?
Actually, I think it's important, sorry to interrupt, all of those books... sorry to...
It's okay.
I'll explain. No, actually, not all of my books they were published by the same publisher. In the States, I have 3 publishers. In Italy, the same publisher. In Italy, France, same publisher. But in English, no, they are different publisher. You've asked me about my activity, not just about producing art. I do believe that because all of these conditions that I faced when I started my career, I couldn't find resources, I couldn't find chances to publish my work or to exhibit my work. That's what exactly motivates me to help the young artist. I am a young artist, but the youngest artist. To help them. That's why I organized a workshop 2 years ago, teach the younger artists than me how they can do comics. And then we organized an exhibition in Ramallah. It was sponsored by Ramallah municipality. But when I did the workshop, when we produced the art, it was voluntarily. And then I tried to move that exhibition to the Lakes District in the UK. And then we had great relation with the Lakes District. That's why the head of the Lakes... By the way, when I went to the Lakes District, one of the board members in that festival tried to block me and to prevent that exhibition. And then he could not do that because the head of the board of the member, 𝗬𝗲𝘢𝘐, she insisted to invite the Palestinian artist Mohammad Sabaaneh to come to the UK and to do that exhibition. And then he launched a big campaign against me in the media, accusing me that I am anti-Semitic cartoonist and incitement, do all this incitement against Jews, not against the occupation, against Jews. And he wanted to prevent me come to or travel to the UK, but he could not. That's why they hired the British government hired 3 bodyguards for me during my my journey in the UK. I was like the ministry with 3 bodyguards. But at the same time, we moved our exhibition in the Lakes District. Now our exhibition also in Spain, in 𝗍𝗯𝗓𝗵𝗃 institution in Spain, and then it will be moved to Barcelona. Next year, maybe also we will participate in our exhibition in the 𝗍𝗨𝗓𝗻 festival, but it's not by the organizer of the festival, with some collective, Palestinian collective there in 𝗍𝗨𝗻 city. We will organizing also the exhibition to be there, not officially with the festival, but the people will see our artwork and the young artist artwork. Also, I am board member of the editors of World War III magazine for the next issue, and also more than 12 artists who they participated with me will publish their artwork with the World War III magazine next issue. All of this opportunity, I think it's important for us as a Palestinian. I think my mission as Mohammad Sabaaneh, not just producing art, it is establishing the comics movement and the comics industry in Palestine. And that's what exactly I was working on it last 2 years. And I think what we had done is important, because maybe next year we will have 3 books, 3 comics for different Palestinian comics artists, not just Mohammad Sabaaneh. Now we have a generation of comics artists in Palestine. You have mentioned 𝗍𝗯𝗓𝗍𝗯𝗓. She is a Palestinian political artist. Most of her political cartoon is about the human condition in Gaza. Still, she is in Gaza. We published her book, translated her book. First, I got the idea to publish her book. I asked the head of the Lakes District to find a publisher for her, and she decided to publish her book by the Lakes District Festival. And then I make connection between CRNI, Cartoonist Right International Network, that's I am the representative in the Middle East, with the Lakes District. And then we decided to publish Safa book in the UK. The translator has done the translation for the her book voluntarily. The graphic designer also, she is my student. She has done, and actually did not just publish or create the graphic for the book. Also, she has created the narrative of the book, because we collected all of this information about Safa from her Facebook page, and then build narrative for that book, how she moved during the last year. And yes, it was published last month.
It's amazing. But for me, it was also, and this was new, so you also tried different forms of art, of expression, and you also talked how when doing Power Born of Dreams, it was not easy to find, so you used the technique of linoleum cut, but it was not easy to find the materials, and at the same time, it reminded you of the scratchings on the wall inside the prison. So it has the message of doing it, and even if you cut your finger, you keep doing it. What does material present to you? How important is it, the technique? Yeah.
First, as an artist around the world, it's not just about that I need to use the technique that reflects some concept for me. Sometimes I need to use the technique because I need to try it. Like any artist, it's not just about the message, the political messages. It's not just about the ideas that I want to reflect in my artwork. Like this, and you have mentioned that I tried more than one kind of art, sculpture, sometimes graffiti, and all of these things. Sometimes I try to get money from the artwork, but I could not actually. That's why it's just I keep it as experience, and I can convey this experience for my student also. I think it's important to have knowledge about all of these materials and technique and all of these things. It's the linoleum is actually, I heard about the relief print and lino cut from United States while I was able to travel to United States, because now I cannot go with the Trump administration. But at that time, Seth Bookman, one of the American publishers that I've met in United States, he told me about the linoleum and how I can use the linoleum. When I traveled back from the state, I couldn't find the tools to do this kind of art. That's why I brought also the tools from United States. I brought the tools, then I couldn't find the linoleum itself. One of my friends, he told me that, or try to find some alternatives, materials, and also because the linoleum is very expensive. It's not cheap. I think even the artists here in Europe sometimes try to find alternative because it is expensive. But I found the PVC, that's the plastic that you use on the ground, as alternative. It's not easy to be used. It's not easy to be carved. But because I had good tools from United States, that's how I can. That's how I did the linoleum.
And also in the book, so you mentioned that it's autobiographical, but it's also not. And you also, when it comes then to 30 Seconds from Gaza, so you use, it seems, art as a document, or you use, art as a document of things that really happen. And so somehow we know Joe Sacco. You have also mentioned yourself, 𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗔𝗍𝗪. Who are for you somehow the signs that guide you, or the inspirations that show the way? Is documentary put into art something that's important for you? You mentioned art for itself, just because you want to do it. But how do you relate to that? And then your own experience, so that probably it stays honest and it keeps also the power of convincing and conveying the message that often, just following the capital or the market doesn't always, produce the same results.
Actually, as you has mentioned, that sometimes I do the art just because I want to do it. Sometimes I do the art because I want to treat myself by all of what's going on around me. It's reaction. It's natural reaction for any human being who can do something, and sometimes you feel that you should do something. That's what happened with 30 Seconds from Gaza. I tried to do something. I traveled back to Palestine from Italy, and then I was just monitoring the news to my daily cartoon that I should do as a daily cartoon. But at the same time, I felt that I should do something else. It's not just about doing my daily cartoon and reflecting the daily event, what's happened in Gaza, because I've seen all of these videos from the activists, journalists, people from Gaza, who they used to publish it in the social media. At the same time, I knew that the social media platform will remove most of these videos, will block most of these accounts, and that's what's happened. I tried to ask my university to establish team, a student as volunteer, and to do documentation and archive for what's going on in Gaza, because I knew that we will lose all of these resources. We have already started that, but then with the war and a lot of material, we could not continue doing that with that university. I felt that I should do something by translating or interrupt all of these videos and images into something else, and that's what exactly I have done with this kind of book. And it wasn't book, actually. I was just doing illustration because I need to do that. Then my French publisher Simona asked me to be published in a book as a graphic narrative about the war in Gaza, and that's how we published that book. It was published in Italian, French, and Spanish language, and all of my publisher, the revenue from that book for Gaza.
Now it seems, I mean, Nada mentioned at the beginning, it's 19 months now that we've been live watching genocide, and from my personal point of view as a journalist, it seemed, you know, it always was the idea that you write about something that's wrong, and writing about it helps it make right? So it helps to correct the wrong. How do you relate, or how do you understand? And the fear now is that when we repeat what's happening again and again, that it actually becomes normalized, that we become used to it. How do you somehow answer this fears, or how do you just cope with the reality that probably has affected also the West Bank and the situation and life there, not just in terms of the violence that came from Israel and increased, but in terms of what it means for you to know what's going on in Gaza, the effects that this has had. So it's two questions, basically.
I will answer the middle one. It's you cannot cope with what's going on in Palestine, because it's right. Every day we have seen the same scene, the same photos, but they are not the same persons. They are different. The story is different. The names are different. It's look like when you are getting into became a prisoner and forget your freedom. No one can forget his freedom, even if you spend years in the prison. Always you have the hope that you will be released from the prison. The same in Gaza. The people there have the hope that this genocide will be end. The same in the West Bank. The people, they want to liberate their land and to live in peace in their land. It's not easy, to be honest with you, that because I'm a political cartoonist and because I have to watch the news every day, how can you motivate yourself by new ideas and new thing every day, while it is the same? It became the same, but it is not the same. I do believe that it is not the same. People, they are suffering. People, they are facing this atrocity, and the reaction from us as a Palestinian visual artist should be different. It's not the same.
And for you, it's been possible. Okay, sorry. It's been possible to work on creating new art as well, and you've already mentioned that what you also want to focus on is the experience of Palestinian prisoners after the 7th of October 2023. So why do you feel is that important?
Because if we back to the academic political framework, when you are talking about settler colonialism, also the genocide is part from the ideology, from the strategy of the settler colonialism. Even they are blocked the indigenous, or committing a genocide against them, or expel them from their land. Now they are using the genocide as a strategy for settler colonialism. It's not just about the Palestinian in Gaza, and also in the West Bank, and also in the Israeli prison. I used the main structure of the narrative. It's about the story of my brother inside the prison, but it is comparing between the life inside the prison and outside the prison. Again, it was the biggest prison on the earth in Gaza and in the West Bank, and I was comparing between the prisons, the real Israeli prisons and the Palestinian city. But now it is became maybe grave, maybe a cemetery. It's not the prisons. And that's why I needed to do that. I needed to document that by new comics. At the same time, there is something else you will be mentioned in the next slide, as I have seen. There is something very important that all of these people around the world, they are using the artificial intelligence for in many fields, in treatment, in art, in education, research. But in Palestine, we are facing the artificial intelligence as a tool to kill the Palestinian people. When you move in the West Bank, just these cameras, that the facial recognition that can recognize these people in Gaza, and even in Gaza, how they recognize the voices of the people by artificial intelligence, by analyzing the voices of people, and you can see what's happened yesterday when they killed that journalist in Gaza. That's what converted the Israeli army to machine of kill. That's how I represented them by this slide or this illustration, because I wanted to also focus on this kind of mentality, Israeli mentality, and how this world, they are supporting Israel with all of this technology, Google, Microsoft, all of these big companies, just to kill the Palestinian people and just to secure the Israeli occupation.
And it seems, I mean, just, turning people into machines, whether it's for killing or in any other way, it seems this is, again, a universal experience. Palestinians, it's very bloody, it's very violent, but it's something that I think the whole world can relate to when it comes to technology and how it's being used by the powers to, I don't really know, harvest the creativity, slowly kill it, make it automatic. How do you approach this artificial intelligence and everything that it offers us? This is now a little bit of changing the severity of your images, but into the reality that today we face, or we have programs that can illustrate by themselves. Are you afraid of that as well?
No.
Why not?
Because I will lose nothing if if the artificial intelligence did my artwork. I will not lose the money. I'm not gaining money from my art. That's why. Actually, I told you that I'm trying to find a way to do my PhD, and my PhD, it is about the artificial intelligence, the proposal of my PhD, because I think that we are, as a visual artist, should think about artificial intelligence, but we cannot ignore that it is fact now. It's all people using the artificial intelligence, but we should cope with that. Well, how exactly we can use the artificial intelligence as a visual artist or as a user, normal user, in any field without without killing the human creativity. Like in our universities, they are fighting against artificial intelligence, while I'm asking my student to use the artificial intelligence somehow. They should, and if I prevent them to use the artificial intelligence, they will use it without telling me that. And that's why I'm trying to find a way how we can cope with this kind of technology. For me, it is very important right now, because if I need any reference, photo as a reference for my artwork, I use the artificial intelligence. And but still, I do believe that artificial intelligence can give you illustration, but it cannot give you the idea of your cartoon or the idea of your illustration. This human creativity, still the artificial intelligence cannot do it. It's ask the artificial intelligence, for example, to do this illustration. It will not do it. They cannot do it. I'm sure that it cannot. Ask the artificial intelligence to do artwork like mural using the cubism to represent the Palestinian nakbe, for example. Will not give you the result that we have done by the human creativity. Still, I don't know if it will be improved or not. I hope not, but if it's improved, this is something we should challenge. And it's not just about the visual artist, actually. It's about everything. Yesterday, one of my friends, he published a publishing house. They used the artificial intelligence to edit the text for an artist, an author. And they forget one sentence from the artificial intelligence in the book. And it was published with this sentence. This challenge, it's for all of the human being. It's not just for the visual artist.
Now, some of the illustrations that you have also made are here, and I found them really inspiring and impressive, also in the way how you play with symbolism or some of the images that are universal and then turn them into the reality, I guess, of Palestine. And we have here more. And I'm wondering, I mean, what kind of reactions do you get, or how do you, is it important for you to get reactions, to hear what people think, what they say, how they relate to your art? Where does that come from?
Yes, I think all of these, all of the visual artists, people, when they produce art, they think that the reaction of their audience or people, it is important for them. But at the same time, it is something you need to do. That I wanted to do all of this artwork. That's why I have done all of this prints. And maybe you will be shocked that if I tell you that I have never exhibited this artwork. I have many artwork that I haven't exhibited them. I'm doing that just because I want to do that. And right now, when I travel outside, sometimes I take some of these original prints, sell them for the people when they want original artwork. But when I have done this artwork, it was just for honoring some places like Jenin Camp, Beta, these places that always they have confrontation with the Israeli, like the next photo, exactly this photo in Beta. I hanged original artwork in that area just because the people, they are fighting against the settlement. I have done that in the old city in Nablus, in Jenin Camp, in many places in the West Bank. And it just was a way just to represent my idea about the resistance against the Israeli.
And what you did was you printed this, you took it to the area, you put it on, and then the settlers did what?
This one, the settler take it off and damage it. Yeah, this one from Beta. One of my friends has taken photo for that, but I don't have the photo in the presentation, but I have it actually.
Why? Why do you think they took it off? What?
It is the war against the narrative. That's as we have mentioned. That it's not just about land. It's not just about, because if they want to justify their ownership for that land, they want to fight against our narrative first, our heritage, and that's why they are fighting against every Palestinian thing. It's not just about land.
And you talked also this morning about symbols, and in the amazing illustration you prepared for that is representing this year's Svobodna Palestina, the series of events that commemorate Nakbe here in Slovenia. You use the key, and there's also the traditional typical dress and the apartheid wall that's crumbling, or at least that's what I recognized. And what you presented today in the morning was really, for me, new and interesting, so that all the time also new symbols are created in Palestine. And this is one of the symbols you created, this 6 with the map of historical Palestine inside it. And I would just, really ask you to explain also to others what this means and how is it spreading.
Actually, this symbol for the 6 Palestinian prisoners who they escaped from the Israeli prison 3 years ago. One of them, he is my friend, 𝗍𝗗𝗫𝗍𝗍𝗫. We established the Freedom Theater in Jenin years ago. And actually, you know, the story of these 6 prisoners, it's looked like fictional story, like fictional comics. I was thinking about that, like these 6 Palestinian prisoners who escaped from, especially 𝗍𝗗𝗫𝗍𝗍𝗫. 𝗍𝗗𝗫 was arrested while he was 12 years old. The first time when he was arrested, 𝗍𝗗𝗫𝗍𝗍𝗫, from Jenin camp, he was 12 years old. And then he was released. During the second intifada, he became the leader of the Fatih movement, or the military wings for Fatih movement in Jenin. And then he escaped from the Israeli for more than one time, even when they surrounded the Jenin camp in the second intifada, in the second intifada, when they demolished Jenin camp in 2000s. His mother was killed by the Israeli. His brother was killed by the Israeli. His 2 brothers actually was killed by the Israeli, Dawood and Jibril. His home was demolished by the Israeli. And his son was killed by the Israeli, actually, last year. 𝗍𝗗𝗫𝗍𝗍𝗫 represents the fictional Palestinian hero, but he is true. He's a real person. And you can meet him. If you come, he was released during the last exchange with the Israeli. And now he is in Ramallah. These 6 Palestinian prisoners, what they have done is something fictional. If you heard about it, no one can imagine that 6 Palestinians by spoon make a tunnel under Israeli prison and then escape. And one of them, 𝗍𝗗𝗫𝗍𝗍𝗫𝗍𝗫, this crazy guy, that he has done all of these miracles during his life, who has faced all of these Israeli atrocity. That's why I've decided that I need to horrify these 6 Palestinian prisoners. I have created this number 6, and I do believe that all of this resistance in Jenin camp and in Nablus and in Tulkarem started from that event, when these 6 Palestinian prisoners escaped from the Israeli prison, because that event gave the Palestinian people hope that they can do whatever they need to do. By nothing they can create hope. By nothing they escaped from this Israeli prison, who that occupied by all of this technology, artificial intelligence camera and X-ray and all of this technology. And then by a spoon they escaped from the Israeli prison. That's why I want to keep this moment. I created this number 6 as cartoon first, and then one of my friends in Amman, he told me, yeah, you should do it as a stencil. And it was a great idea. I did it as a stencil. And then most of the people around West Bank, in United States, in Turkey, in many countries, that just used number 6 with the map of the Palestine, because it gave hope for these people. And the story of these 6 Palestinian prisoners gave the Palestinian people hope that they can challenge the Israeli occupation.
How dangerous is it to make stencil in Palestine?
I don't know.
And do the Israelis understand it?
I think so, yeah. I think so. We did it in some places outside, even the highways. We did number 6 also there.
Okay.
But maybe some Israeli thought that another 6, it's not just 6 about the Israeli, about the Palestinian prisoners.
And this is also yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain this one?
Actually, I did this one with my student.
Okay.
In the streets. It's about the Palestinian prisoners also, but we use Santa as to represent the Palestinian prisoners, that he cannot bring the gifts for the Palestinian kids and the Palestinian people.
Okay. And we have also this.
I haven't actually exhibited this artwork. These are the stencil that we used in the street. I use it to create another artwork. When these Palestinian prisoners they were re-arrested, they have mentioned some statement. I tried to represent their statement in artwork. That's why I did this artwork.
Okay. I have more questions, but I will at this point give also space for your questions. So very welcome to ask, comment, share thoughts, doubts. Yes.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. Just the last picture with Santa reminded me of a poem by 𝗬𝗪𝗔𝗍𝗪𝗧𝗧, who I think he wrote it last December, where Santa is killed in Gaza in the genocide. Did you think of that poem or know of that poem when you did the image, or did you just?
Actually, this one I've done this stencil maybe 4 years ago. It's older than the poems actually.
Yeah, of course. I just thought it was such a clever way of using this image of Santa that's so hackneyed. Both of them actually.
Yeah, actually, more than one artist who used Santa. Not just I'm not the first one actually. Some artists from outside Palestine also used Santa when they want to talk about the Palestinian issues in Gaza, in the West Bank, and Bethlehem, and all of these places. I wasn't the first one who used Santa to represent or to talk about the Palestinian issue. That's why you could find many artwork using the same symbol or the same way to talk about the Palestinian issues.
So you could do a Santa anthology of Palestine as a way of...
Maybe we should do that.
Okay, some more questions, comments. Yes.
Hello. I'm not coming from the field of arts, so I have just a political question, or just what's the situation like right now in Jenin?
Is surrealistic, we can call it. It's surrealistic. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. As simple as that, because you know it's Jenin camp now under the Israeli control, and Jenin camp inside Jenin city. The rest of the city under the Palestinian Authority, theoretically under the Palestinian Authority control, but at the same time the Israeli get into the Jenin camp, go outside, kill Palestinian, arrest Palestinian wherever they need. It's look like this is a state inside the states, or prison inside the prison. I don't know exactly what we should call it, but Jenin camp now under the Israeli control. They evacuated all the Palestinian citizens from inside the camp. Last week, my father was sick in the hospital. The hospital in Jenin of Jenin is in the gate of the Jenin camp. I was with my father in his room in the hospital, looking to the Jenin camp under the Israeli control, and the hospital under the Palestinian Authority control is something crazy. No one can understand the situation. The Palestinian Authority forces policemen and traffic police and all of these people, they are in Jenin, while the camp inside Jenin under the Israeli control, and the Israeli, they are demolishing house, reshape the camp with a new face, like they are opening new streets inside the camp because they want to change the what they call it, the structure of the camp, to be easier for them in the future if they want to get into the camp. That's the situation in Jenin, and it's the same in 𝗀𝗪𝗏 actually. It's.
But when they drive people out, where do the people go? Like,
most of the people, they looked for to rent houses in the villages, places around Jenin. They are now in. They had rented house around the camp, but they are not inside the camp.
And the Freedom Theater?
Actually, the head of the Freedom Theater, he was not 𝗍𝗪𝗢𝗍𝗍, I forget his name, but he was released last month from the Israeli prison. But I couldn't contact him because he was because of the situation of Jenin. But no one can go to the Jenin Freedom Theater. It's inside the camp.
Yes, there's a question there, and then in the back. First here, or yeah, Wafa, go.
Okay, go. Voilà. I would like to ask you how you challenge the Zionist lobbying against you as a popular Palestinian face, especially during your tours and your work in the West, in Europe, in the US, and what. I'm sorry that I was not in the beginning, so I don't know if you mentioned this. I'm really interested to know, because I am also Palestinian. I have been in Europe just few years ago, 3 years ago, and I would like to know how, as a Palestinian, we can really challenge all the way that always the Zionists are trying to challenge our narration, our narrative, because I was only living in my Palestine, and it was always my story as a Palestinian, and all the stories around me are the same. So we have the same ideas, the same talks, and so on. In Europe, for example, it's different. It's always you will face this kind of propaganda, criticism about anti-Semitism and so on. Those kind of propaganda that we all know. So as a Palestinian, how you really you were able, or you are able, to challenge this?
Actually, challenging the political fiction or the Israeli or the Zionist lobby in Europe or in the United States, it's not our mission as a Palestinian. To be honest with you, like in the UK, I did not challenge them. But the head of the Lakes District, Julie Tate, she challenged them. And the pro-Palestinian people challenged them. And they have done our work there. And they invited the Palestinian people. I cannot challenge the European citizen in Europe as a Palestinian. I'm a guest here. But this is the mission of the European people, who they are pro-Palestinian people. And that's why we should strengthen them with our discourse. Because I cannot, to be honest with you, I cannot ask my friends here in Slovenia to hang a poster for Abu Ubaidah. I cannot ask them to do that. This is not their mission. Their mission to reflect the human condition in Palestine. And that's how we can strengthen them with a good discourse that it's acceptable here in Europe, to be honest with you. But like many Palestinian artists always say, do you did any cartoon or hang political cartoon about the Palestinian resistance? This is not the place that we should actually represent the Palestinian resistance. Maybe we should represent here the Palestinian human condition in Palestine. But challenging all of this pro-Israeli and pro-Zionist in Europe, it's not our mission. We cannot do that, because I come to Europe by visa. Just they will stop your visa. It's easy. But this is the European people, the pro-Palestinian people mission. And I do believe that in many countries, in many challenges, in the UK, in France, in many countries, they could not block our voice. Maybe in Germany, yes. It's very hard for the pro-Palestinian people. In France, it's a little bit hard. But for example, in Italy or in Belgium, in many countries, they could not.
Many things were said. Thank you very much also to both of you, the way also of talking. And my question will be, when you talk, and I agree, you say we are to reflect the human condition. But when we see just as on prime news for a few minutes, maybe more, the horrifying situation that is going on in Gaza. How you, something that even I think the word genocide, it's not anymore relevant to be used. It's something that really you stop to think. So how then you reflect, or you, if you think about in your work such condition, human condition of erasure, of completely destruction? I think it will stop when everybody will be killed, because it seems like this. Also, you said, yeah, we have to oppose, but we don't do anything. More or less we do, but the things are just going on. So my question is how this affect your work, your way of working with the comics, your messages, your hesitations also, because it's facing and what it's the thinking in the community, in your family, looking this, if it's, you can share something of this, I think it's, and then how this return to the work.
Actually, we had this kind of discussion with many artists also, because always we do believe that our work do not reflect enough what's going on in Palestine. It's look like kind of feeling that we have this kind of responsibility that still with all of what we are doing, it's not enough. Maybe you have seen what I've done, it's enough, but for me it's not enough. I'm not satisfied with what I'm doing still. And actually with what we are doing as intellectuals or as visual artists, we should do more. I don't know exactly how we can reflect the real situation in Gaza. I'm not sure that we have the real way to reflect what's going on right now. We have friends now, he is in France, he moved from Gaza just 2 weeks ago. 𝗍𝗪𝗢𝗪𝗏, he has done many great job in Gaza. And I was talking with him just 2 days ago that what exactly you should do now, how exactly you should reflect the situation there, because you have just came from Gaza. He told me no one can reflect the real condition in Gaza with art or with word or with all of these things.
I agree.
You have maybe some message for Zionist people here in Europe, like Eurovision or other similar institutions, or people who have here maybe some centers or exhibitions or whatever. Friends of Israel, think maybe you have some message for this kind of people.
Actually,
in art world.
Actually, I've done many artwork about all of this institution and activity in Europe. It's we as a Palestinian, we are thankful for these people who they are pro-Palestinian issues in Europe, and they are always criticizing this kind of event and this kind of activity in Europe. And by the way, I do believe that the boycott movement and the BDS is one of the effective tools. It gave people from around the world a chance to resist against the Israeli and against the Israeli economy, against the Israeli propaganda by boycotting them. And this is a good way. I don't have message for this Zionist movement because I will not change them. It's my opinion that we are against them or are fight against them, and we will not change them. They will stay. They will stay pro-Israeli, pro-Zionist movement. Exactly, my message should be for the pro-Palestinian people to boycott all of this movement and all of this, even company facilities, anything that it support Israel, because boycotting is, I think, is a very important way.
because we were also talking about pro-Israeli. I have a question also. If you have a message or something to say to the neutral people, especially during the last 19 months, there are so many people all over the world that are still neutral. How do you think about them, or what you can say to them?
Actually, the neutral people, they are exactly the people that we should target. As activists, as Palestinian, as intellectual, we should targeting them with our art, with our campaign, with our activity. Because when I come to Slovenia, for example, to meet pro-Palestinian people, that does not make any sense. That will not change anything. We should. That's why, for example, always I'm looking to for any invitation in universities, in schools, in this kind of community, because there you can meet these neutral people. I do believe that most of these people now in this hall, they are pro-Palestinian people. No one neutral here. I came here just to talk about something you have already known. That's why always we are trying to reach these people and try to talk with them, show them our artwork, show them all of this kind of production, art production, because that's how we can change these people. And that's these people exactly that you should target here in Europe, because I live in Palestine. I don't meet these people usually, but here in Europe, always you are meeting them, facing them, and that's how you can change their opinion to stand with the Palestinian issue.
Some more questions? Yes.
Thank you. Hi. Mine is actually another question, but it's more of a comment to the previous question. I don't think that at this point we are way beyond being neutral. No one is neutral anymore. I'm surrounded by people, my friends, who are simply, they are sticking to their comfort zone because they are afraid for their jobs, because the Zionist influence is so strong that they are basically in every pore of every company around the world where, for example, my colleagues, my friends, close friends, who, let's say, they claim for themselves to be liberal, to be leftist, but they are just not comfortable enough to step out of that comfort zone to come to the protests, for example. When we have protests in Slovenia, I usually see always the same people. It's about, I don't know, 200, 300 people. My friends who, for example, did attend protests against previous government, the right-wing government, they would rush to such protests, but they don't do that when, I won't say when the question is about the Palestinians, but the problem are the Israelis, because they are afraid that it would impact their life. So I think that at this point we should really stop talking about neutrality, because at this point no one in this world, knowing what's going on, can be neutral anymore. And when you were asked how your work does reflect the situation in Gaza, nowadays everyone has at least one social media account, and they are exposed to the pictures and the horrific stories coming from Gaza. So I think that art should move towards the way of portraying the genocide, but not the genocide itself, but the perpetrators of the genocide, making fun out of them. And for example, just a couple of days ago, there was a movie of Mr. Lubitsch, who was, I think he was a German Jew, who fled to the United States, and he portrayed the Nazi regime in a funny way. So, yeah, I think that the art itself, it should reflect the perpetrators of genocide in not such a direct way. Because, you know, we are so exposed to the stories coming from Gaza that the only way that art can address this is by modifying it and displaying it in another way. So sorry, I got messed up with my thoughts that I wanted to express, but no, I don't have any question for you. I would just say my kudos to you and to Mr. Farid. And I am really grateful, and I think I can speak for everyone in this room that you have the guts to come here and talk about it. And I would like to express our appreciation to your people, to your families, and let them know that we really think about you. And I think that we will do everything in our power to help you, to spread the word. I am doing it. I know that sometimes I get into these really cringe thoughts like, yeah, maybe I'm exaggerating when my family says, yeah, you are maybe too obsessed about what's going on in Gaza, but I'm over that. And I think that more people should join and express what we think about you, our support for you. And I hope that you and the people in Palestine can feel it, really.
We feel it. Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe for the Finnish, humor was mentioned. Is humor important in your work? How do you approach humor and feelings of guilt? Because you mentioned, I think in the morning, that you also did illustrations that somehow tried to reflect the Israelis, to make them see themselves. So yeah, how do you interact with creating feelings in people, either feelings of guilt, shame, or laughter?
Actually, I was thinking about humor, how we can do comics by using humor more than this black area that I work on it. And I do believe that it is very important to do that, but not all the authors, not all the artists can do that. And to be honest with you, it's easier to make the people cry than make them laugh. I was thinking about that, how we can do comics using the humor to talk about the condition, especially in the West Bank. But at that time, I should look for something related to me, personally to me, to my experience, to talk about that freely. I don't know if the art can make the people feel that they are guilty, or feel that. Still, I haven't got any feedback from the Israeli when they see our visual art or cartoon or graphic novels. But that's what we are trying to do. I'm not sure that we got it or not.
Any more questions? Yes, okay.
I don't even know if it's proper to polite to ask, but the question is, can you gain some strategies from the war of Sarajevo, and also the war? Talking about humor, there was a splendid magazine called Feral Tribune, and it went out. It was like politically the most incorrect magazine, but in a smart way. But why did it end? Because nobody wanted to finance it anymore. So they had no sponsors. That's why I was asking you about the publishers, which are from Westworld, obviously. But how to go on in few years? Let's talk about future. 3 questions in 1 question, but.
To be honest with you, I'm not rely on my art to live. That's why I work in university. At the same time, most of my publishers, to be honest, they are not mainstream publisher like very big company. They are just, some of them, small publishing house who most of them, they do believe in the Arab culture, like my French publisher Simona 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, she published many comics for Lebanese, Algerian, Lebanese, Moroccan comics artist. My Italian publisher, she is also very big publisher, but she is publishing not just comics. My first and second publisher in United States, they are, first one, she used to be activist for Palestine. Second one, she just doing publishing for comics. The third one, he is a good publisher, but at all, I don't rely on art. I'm not just asking the publishing house for money when they are publishing my book. It's just little piece of money for the author or for me. And because I rely on my work in university, I can live in Palestine or travel sometime around the world. But that's how I keep going on and doing my art, being in many places around the world, because we are doing that because we believe that we should do that. The time, the money, the expenses for this production, I cover it just because I love to do that. It's not so expensive to produce art. It's my time, and I can invest it doing all of this experience by even if it's exhibition or book or graphic novel. That's how it works.
What about Sarajevo?
Sarajevo. I don't know if you know the war in Bosnia. Yeah, Sarajevo.
I haven't done anything about that.
If it is in any way, if it relates to your work or...
And you are Sarajevo. I think there is 𝗀𝘃𝘏𝘏𝗧𝗏 has done comics about it.
And there was a local studio called Trio Sarajevo, which was when it was really dark. Even for I can speak from personal experience.
Yeah.
I was teenager, but it was dark because it was close by. It was relevating because they made jokes in a but extremely dark jokes. But I felt them because they were in Sarajevo during the occupation, basically mocking the enemy, so to speak.
I think I should read about that.
Absolutely.
I don't know about it. I should read about it if it's like this black joke, because maybe we can find another way to express our issues also.
Yes, and I think this is also a nice introduction to an end that will open a new beginning, because we certainly hope that you come again. I know your work hasn't finished and you feel that there's a lot of work still to be done. We also have work to be done. There's still a petition open addressed to the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and to the government of Slovenia for Slovenia to join the South African lawsuit in front of the International Court of Justice. It closes tomorrow morning, so if you haven't signed it or spread it among your friends, do that, please. And we will continue translating and trying to get the book published as soon as possible, and then the second book, and then introduce, hopefully, Mohammad also to the arts of the region and Sarajevo, and more closely this was already mentioned to him today. So yes, I hope this is a beginning of further beautiful collaborations that open way to imaginings of freedom and imaginings of unimaginable at the moment, but still worthy pursuits for justice and free Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you.